Alright, what's up everybody? So, a little bit of a long break since we kind of, got after some content. So we're going to pick that back up again. In this little hiatus, I learned a really, really valuable lesson. I should not be allowed to touch blue cards. Yeah, man, blue's just not for me. It's really good. So, I mean, obviously I was on breakfast for a good amount of time, like Nadu, general stuff. It just was not, it was just not going good for me. So, if we look at the majority of the metagame, breakfast is a good deck. It's well positioned against a lot of stuff. Obviously, it checks the can I win on turn 1, turn 2 type button, but no, just for me, no. Brainstorm, hard card, I'm good. But in all seriousness, like my overall win rate went down. Yeah, I just need to stick in something in my wheelhouse. So, yeah, we got some guys' cradles and, rejoined the elf horde, or more likely the cradle control. So, been messing around with that for around about 2 weeks now, and it's been phenomenal. I really think some people are sleeping on the deck. Like, pretty much of, like, these top 5 decks, the only 2 that I really don't want to see are Mystic Forge and Red Stompy. Everything else is completely reasonable. Like, these are very favored. The Dimir Tempo, the Delver. Dimir Reanimator is favored, obviously. They're like 20%, just turn 2, cheese you with like force backup. That's hard to beat. But overall, I mean, you're favored in the matchup. So, yeah, I really like kind of where it sits in the metagame. Anything that's not trying to just, combo kill you on turn 2, it's pretty good. And then, like, obviously it plays endurances, so like graveyard based decks, it has that free interaction. So what kind of led me to this revelation other than I suck at casting Brainstorm? There are 2 things that kind of jump out to me in this format. Cards in hand are good, and cards in the graveyard are good. So I wanted something that played Thoughtseize and Endurance. And Cradle Control hits both of those checkboxes. So this is my current build. If anybody knows Newton, he is all in on this. This is his brainchild, and he's like the leading content guy for this Cradle Control deck. So this is what he's trying today. So kind of notable differences. I'm on the Hierarch packages, the Keen-Eyed Curator. I got a little Andre Mengucci spice in here. And then, the sideboard's not anything, but, yeah, this is what I've been jamming in our paper testing, and it feels phenomenal. This is what he's on, so like notable differences. Instead of the Hierarch package, he is playing Factual Elves with Shepherd. So it kind of loses just like a shade of synergy with the whites, and then you get the shepherd, which powers the cradle a little bit better. So that's why he's on 4. With that, you know, I think this is probably better. Probably. But, man. So, like, Andre played this at, what was it? The Eternal Mania. And he had the Natural Order and Atraxa in the sideboard. He had 4 Keen Eyes and another Safekeeper, and then he had an extra land. He had 2 Cradles and 2 Wastelands. That was his exact main deck. And then he had the natural, in the sideboard. Which, I don't know, definitely more mid-rangey, but like, against some of your, like mono red and stuff like that, like being able to just natural order an Atraxa into play, really hard for them to deal with it. Because I mean, in theory, you can pretty much goldfish that on turn 3. So I really liked the ability to like have a little bit of hedge against that game 1. And like, I mean, obviously Newton, is pretty high on the natural order package too, like game 1. So yeah, like those are kind of the notable differences between like the couple of different lists that are floating around right now. I really like the hierarchs too, because they just make like White of the Reliquary that much better. Like, they just kind of sit and play, and like, even if they are able to like kill or counter a White of the Reliquary, every other like creature that you would play, just like even a Dryad Arbor with like a double hierarch is smacking for 3. So I mean, the hierarchs are good. I mean, they mana fix you into being able to hard cast Atraxa, cast White of the Reliquaries through like Blood Moons and stuff. So yeah, the hierarchs and the exalted, like I'm just a super big fan of that. Yeah, and then so in 2023, Castlin played this to a top 4 finish at Eternal Weekend. And her list was basically this. But this was Fiend Artisan instead of the whites, and then she did not have a Keen Eye. She had like a Bowmasters, I think. But this is kind of like a more updated, like pretty much like 1-for-1 swaps with the Fiend Artisan and the Bowmasters on what she played. So you can see she's got the 2 Shepherds, which are good. It only powers up itself and the Reclaimer, but it also just gives you like a sync with the Cradle. And this is on 4 Cradles, so that you can also hard cast the Crater Hoof. So I mean, I might try this next and just see, like, it's a nice little, hybrid between Newton's and mine and Cass's list. I think it's a little bit more targeted right now to the metagame. I definitely like the Shepherd in the regards that, like, it just makes stuff uncounterable. And if you get, like, a double Reclaimer hand and you've got a Cradle, or like you can obviously go get the Cradle. If you draw like Green Suns or something, like that just represents like, a lot of damage. So I mean, there's always that side too, right? So yeah, I don't know. I like how this deck plays to the board. It's customizable. I mean, you can play 4 Cradles, 2 Cradles, 2 Talon Gates, 1 Talon Gate, some Wastelands, some extra Safekeepers, Keen-Eyeds, Shepherds, Crater Hoof, no Crater Hoof. I mean, it's just crazy how like cool this deck is and how many iterations of it there are. And I think that a lot of people are sleeping on it because there's just not a lot of people that are playing it. I mean, it's not even on the first page. Like, if you're preparing for an event, you're like, all right, like, last 14 days, last 7 days, like, I'm looking at, basically the same, like, 10, 12 decks for, what I'm going to plan for, what I'm going to have, like, sideboard notes for and stuff. And this deck just isn't even on there. And you're like, well, I hope I have a Wrath of God in, my deck or something. Which of all of these... Yeah, I think Death and Taxes is the only one that plays Wrath of the Skies. Yeah, nothing else is playing like any real like global removal. So, which is kind of the only thing that like really is a little bit worrisome. That or just like dying on turn 1 with no interaction. Because really the only like interaction that you have is like the Thoughtseizes and Endurances. Force of Vigors. So, I mean, like, you're definitely, like, kind of all in on, like, your best 0 mana spells in your colors. But, yeah, I mean, you're kind of leaning pretty hard on Endurances and Thoughtseize for, like, your graveyard and spell-based combo matchups. Because this was playing, like, Mindbreak Traps, too, for a while. Just to try to, like, hedge against some of those, okay, well, it's turn 0 for me and I can't do anything, and you're not a graveyard based deck, so Endurance doesn't do a lot. But yeah, like anything that wants to play like a remotely fair game or like some sort of an attrition based game, like this deck will just eat it alive, which is phenomenal. So I like how it plays, definitely more in my wheelhouse. Yeah, so I mean, Mystic Forge, this is a big one that's been doing pretty well for the past several weeks. It got the new Tezzeret Cruel Captain, which is a really, really busted card. I don't think I've ever seen anybody use the ultimate on it, but I mean, just being able to tutor like keys and like maps and Needle Research Desk, that's been pretty powerful. And like, untapping a ring or untapping a Grim Monolith, for 0 and using it again has been pretty impressive. So definitely got an upgrade in that, and it can like just play through Null Rod, right? Like Kozilek's Command and Flushraker just let it play through a Null Rod. Before these artifact-based decks, they relied so heavily on like Grim Monoliths and Keys and Lotus Petals and Opals that it would almost just shut it down. Now it's got Planner Nexus and Workshop and Tower, so it definitely has gained a lot of traction as far as being able to work through like those Stone Cold answers like Null Rod and Collector Roof. They aren't as scary as they used to be. So once again, for Eternal Weekend this year, I think this deck's going to definitely be a contender. And then if you go back even to like the last 14 days, I mean, you pretty much have like these unfair things, and then these like tempo-based decks that are, decent into these unfair things. But definitely a lot of, a lot of unfair stuff going on in Legacy right now, but I don't think it's in a terrible, terrible place outside of the Dimir Reanimator and maybe the Mystic Forge too. Like those ones are pretty well above the rest in my opinion. I think that even if you go to viewing more like some other sleeper decks, Eldrazi has been doing well recently, and I'm not 100% sure why. Nothing else in here is really jumping out to me. Like, yeah, like Cradle Control just really, really, like, people are sleeping on that, in my opinion. And then, I mean, maybe even like actual Dredge. Well, Mafut's Van Gogh just like won the showcase or something with it a couple weeks ago. And this is pretty good. It's like all in. But what I think a lot of people, and I was talking to one of my buddies about this actually, because he's debating playing this deck for Eternal Weekend, and like just put it together, like has very few reps with it, and he's like, I think it's really good. I think that the thing that people don't realize about a deck like this, they're like, okay, cool, I just play like a ley line, the deck loses, it can't win, it can't, like, no. Like, Faithless Looting just draws you cards. Like, Otherworldly Gates lets you surveil cards. Breakthrough draws you cards. You can draw into your answers post-board to deal with their hard hate. And for the most part, a lot of soft hate against this deck, you know, you put like one dredger in and you know, just slow dredge, if you will. Like, don't just go nuts and dump your hand to an LED. But, you know, against a lot of the soft hate, like, you know, you can beat that relatively easy without any interaction. And then game 2, you have the ability to draw through your deck relatively quickly to find your answer to deal with the you know, the ley line or the Grafdigger's Cage or whatever is really giving you a hard time. So, you know, this deck's really, really cool. And, you know, I think if a lot of people are packing, like, the softer graveyard hate, like the Fairy Macabres or Surgicals or something, that this deck is going to be relatively favored. And, I mean, obviously this guy did well. Where's his... Well, there's his challenge. I thought he won like the showcase or something. No, maybe it was just a challenge. Can't imagine his list is any different. Yeah, he's on 1 Ox, 1 Anger, the Bridges. Yeah, because like if you bounce something with End of the Flood Maul, and then you untap and you just go nuts, like slam a Breakthrough with some Dredgers in the graveyard or whatever. Like you can put like Breakthrough on the stack, crack LED, and then, you know, go nuts. And then all your bridge stuff with Anger, because you're playing Volcanic Islands, you know, now you're just smacking them for 1 billion damage. Or you just like reanimate the Ox or something and, you know, dredge through your whole deck and return Oracle. So, I mean, this deck's really cool, and I think that, you know, you should probably be aware of that as well. I'm not like super high on like a ton of other decks. I mean, pretty much everything else is like known. People have played against it. You know, they're not just like hidden in the metagame that, you know, only like 2 people play. You know, pretty much everything else is where it is because it's, you know, okay against some of the top decks, or it's not super, super horrible, but definitely like the LED Dredge deck, because of its ability to like fight through soft hate and then just like turbo out a win, like just instantly win on the spot. And then the Cradle Control deck, because it plays those 2 components, the Thoughtseize and the Endurances. Right? And I think if you look through a lot of these, like a lot of the decks are either, okay, well, cards in my hand are good, or cards in my graveyard are good, and Endurance and Thoughtseize, you know, hit those check marks. So I really like where that's positioned, and it's just kind of hidden here in the metagame. Nobody else is really like, oh man, I need to have a sideboard plan for Cradle Control elves. Yeah, and the lack of Bowmasters. Actually, Curran did really, yeah, there it is. Curran did really well with this in a challenge not too long ago, back on the old Glimpse of Nature. Just straight combo elves. They got this Eldamari, this new guy, lets you cast spells from the top of your library, which is really cool. And I mean, the second ability is not horrible either, but just being able to, like, you know, pseudo use that as like a way to, you know, like scry with your fetch lands and, you know, just like jam through a bunch of your dudes off the top of your library and then, you know, play a giant Crater Hoof. That's pretty sweet too. But, and he's on the Terrestodon, which, I mean, sure. I mean, a reanimated Atraxa or reanimated Archon or something. I mean, that's probably... Oh, it's a non-creature. Never mind. Yeah, I don't know. I've never been huge on this card. Even when I played Elves back in the day, I never played this card. I was like, I don't even get it. So I don't really know what he's 100% trying to kill with that, but... okay, moving forward. Talking about Eternal Weekend. So, I think other than the stuff that we talked about the other day, getting ready for Eternal Weekend, I think having a sideboard map, like predetermined, a sideboard map ready to go in your deck box is a huge thing. It takes your mental load off when you're sitting there across from blue-black tempo, and you're like, well, I saw this one main deck, you know, Brazen Bar, I don't know. And you're like, not every deck plays that. What else, you know? No, just look at your sideboard map. This is blue-black tempo. I'm not even going to think about it. I'm going to bring these three in, take these three out, and shuffle my library. I think that having that mental load off of you when you're planning on playing 9 rounds of consecutive Magic is a huge benefit to you. So don't sell yourself short. Don't not come prepared. You know, it's cool if you have the matchup figured out and you know exactly what to bring against Red Stompy. That's awesome. But also just have it on a paper so you don't have to think about it. Like, even just taking that mental thought process out of it, highly recommend that. Makes your life so much easier. You can focus on the game more. Other than that, I'm going to be playing a decent amount of Moto coming up to Eternal Weekend, so I'm going to be streaming some of those, which I'm kind of in here now. See, I'm like 1-1 right now. This sucks. I forget what I lost to. It couldn't have been anything super memorable, though. If this lets me go. Oh, that was that draw. Oh, no. This hand is not great. Boraz. It's got a Once Upon a Time, and we are on the draw. Oh, this hand's not great, though. This hand is not great. I think we just have to mulligan. We just can't afford. This hand is infinitely better. And I think it's pretty safe to bottom the Reclaimer. Maybe I should just turn off my yields in case he's on false spells or something. No. Once upon a time. Don't tell me that this is a mirror match. Makes me feel really bad about bottoming the Reclaimer and keeping an Endurance. I mean, Endurance isn't dead, though, in the mirror. This is really good. What other deck plays Once Upon a Time? Lands. Lands is on Once Upon a Time now. Yep. He bends the forest, he says. Alright. I suppose for the sake of argument, those aren't great. I guess we just take the Cradle, pump out the Hierarch. So we can deal with Loam if he's got the Merit Lage. If we get to untap the white, we can phase it once. We can block with an Endurance. We definitely want to hard cast the Endurance, though, in that regard. And he's thinking long and hard about this. He's just gonna crop rotation. Sure. Tabernacle? Yep. Alright, he's trying to play a slower game here. Yes, I would like to pay. Ooh, and we just get by you. Well, that's a little bit better. Yep, Torch my Bayou. He's not going to torch my Bayou. That's impressive. Gonna flute my way to the Reliquary. Okay. We're still gonna keep him around. That is interesting. I think we just run this out. Grist is not particularly phenomenal. Oh, I can't cast that with black, can I? How about I cast it for green? Nope, but we can still smack for 4. And just make his wasteland not as impactful. Yeah, it's still got 4 cards. Okay, so he's representing the depths. which he has to tap the wasteland for anyways. The endurance just lets me block it. Playing out the Cradle gives me 3, 5. I think I just make him do it. Like, the Foothills was safer, but he still can't. Like, unless he has that plus crop rotation to rotate this out. But I think no matter what, like, we just jam the endurance so that we can block. Yeah, he's gonna do that. That's fine. Yep. Okay, you have a Merit Lage. I cannot do anything about. Just cast this guy. She'll do this to you. Cradle is dead. Man. Let's get something here. Yeah, I guess, because this just, like, puts me straight dead. Like, at least if I drew a natural order, if I wouldn't have played the Cradle, if I drew a natural order, I could have at least still casted that. Yep. I would absolutely like to walk. Nope. Can't do anything. Silly Merit Lage. And unfortunately, I think I have a Maze of Ith in my sideboard. Yeah. So, against lands, I definitely want these. Definitely probably that. That is not great. You're not targeting my stuff. I assume. Let's go back here. We could always. Set this.
and sent me to. I told him not to do what I do because it was a dangerous trick. And he did it, and he got hurt on his leg.
Okay.
He doesn't need crunches. Just got hurt. He needs all.
Okay. Give me a second, I'll be right back. I think the oof probably, a Kenai probably. Do that, that's it. Okay. Let's see if we can run this back. Well, it's kind of anemic. Doesn't really do a whole too lot. It does have the natural bog, though, which can be kind of helpful. It's got mana, so I don't just die to wasteland. It's got double insulation against loam. Like allowing him to put lands into the graveyard, endurance him, and then go back to my turn and just naturally bog him. Pretty not terrible. I wonder what he's doing.